Hey y'all, my name is Tarsha, but most of the people that I know call me Mrs. Joy. And the reason they call me that is because the name of my treat shop is Mrs. Joy's Absolutely Fabulous Treats. I'm located in Lynchburg, Virginia, and I've been here for about 4 years in this spot. I started at the farmer's market, which is about 2 blocks up, about 2 blocks over, and I was there for about 4.5 years. Now I'm going to explain that I started baking because I was a graphic design student at Lynchburg College. Then Lynchburg College is now known as the University of Lynchburg. And one of my projects was to brand a product from start to finish. And that was a semester-long project. And I felt that if I wanted to be passionate about, if I was passionate about the project, I would get a good grade. So I came up with this bakery idea, and I thought, you know, I'm not going to do the things that the other college kids are doing, because at the time I was about 40-something years old. And this was a while back. And I decided to do something that, you know, was more practical, people my age could enjoy, people of all ages could enjoy. And I thought, you know what? Baked goods are something that people can enjoy. So I created a bakery. And then I learned how to bake. And I tested my packaging and logo design and all this wonderful stuff at the farmer's market with my son, who needed a summer job. So I gave him his first summer job. He sold quite a few things for me. I started out making shortbread because I thought it was an easy thing to do. Little did I know it wasn't. And then I learned how to make other things. So I think cake pops came up, and I went from that crazy cake pop making machine to mushing the cake with the frosting, and it was a wonderful, wonderful product that served us quite well, even though we don't really make them anymore. I learned how to make brownies and donuts, and I'll tell you a story about donuts later when we get on that subject. But to make a long story short, I've been here for a little over 4 years now. I've been on Food Network several times. I learned how to bake as I went. I started as a home-based baker with an inspected home kitchen. I always did things by the books. I always did things legally. And so what I plan to talk about here on this channel is how I went from being a home-based baker, some of the things that I made and I learned how to make, and how I learned how to make them, and then how I went to be a brick and mortar owner, and what some of the differences are, what some of the setbacks are, some of the pros, some of the cons. It's not for everyone. Even though a lot of people think they can do it, trust, it is not for everyone. So I'm going to talk about those things as we go along. But today, I have about 15 minutes. I'm not going to take that much time. I'm going to try to keep these videos nice and short, because my attention span is short. And I don't want to be taking up a whole lot of your life, because if you're like me, you don't have time to sit around watching videos. But I am going to share today something that I know a lot of people ask questions about. And you wouldn't think it was that big of a deal, but it is really hard to make a chocolate chip cookie that actually tastes good. Trust me, I've eaten quite a few. And not everybody know how to make a chocolate chip cookie, honey. Trust, I know. And it took me a long time to get a good recipe. And what I love the most is one of my friends, Karma. She has a shop in Baltimore. Her shop is called Karma's Cafe, and she's right around the corner from Johns Hopkins. She came and she tried my chocolate chip cookie after I opened my shop, and she said she ain't like it. Those are the kind of friends you want. People that are going to be honest with you about your product, because not everybody is willing to be honest, and I love Karma for this. She is a wealth of information for me, and I love her to death. But not everybody's going to be honest with you. Everybody wants to be your friend, and they want to be nice, and they want to tell you your stuff tastes good, and they don't want to tell you that it tastes like hot garbage on a plate, because they don't want to hurt your feelings. But for me, having been a student at Lynchburg College and learning that, I was an art student at the time. I was a graphic design student. It was just studio art, and our professors used to rake us over the coals. I could guarantee you that not one of the students I went to school with, and I'm sure they will comment below, thought that it was easy peasy and it was just a breeze. Being an art student was incredibly hard. You had to have thick skin. You had to develop if you didn't have it, and you had to learn how to get through critiques in every single class. Like, Every single class, the graphic design, the computer ones, the studio ones, every class you had to learn how to be critiqued, and you had to learn how to critique. And that is an art in and of itself. Not everyone knows how to do that either. But what I have learned is that being honest with someone about their product helps them. Because if you're telling them it tastes good and it tastes like hot garbage on a plate, they're gonna look kind of silly trying to sell hot garbage on a plate if that's not what they're intending to do. Now, if that's what they're intending, that's all well and good. But if I sell you a chocolate chip cookie and I tell you it tastes the best in the entire area, best believe it's gonna be that, because I have people that are telling me the God's honest truth, and that's what I appreciate, because it helps me to become a better baker, and it helps me to become a better person, to be able to take the critique in the way that it is meant to be taken. So here, I'm going to talk to you about chocolate chip cookies today, not because I want to show you how awesome my cookies are, but I'm going to tell you a few things about my process so that maybe it'll help you in yours. Here's what I'm not going to do. I'm not going to give you my recipe, because I'm still making money with that, and that would be kind of stupid for me to be sitting here and giving everybody my recipe so they can go ahead on and sell it across the country the same way that I plan to. It just isn't fiscally feasible, and I'm not going to do that today. But what I am going to tell you is how to make your cookie better if you're struggling with the chocolate chip cookie recipe. So before me, I have these two sets of cookies, and I'm going to show you two of the cookies that I have. Now, this is the cookie I sell in my shop every day. We use this scoop to scoop it, the blue scoop. Don't ask me the measurements on it. You can Google it. You can go on Amazon. You can look on Amazon when you purchase it to find out what the size is. I just know that this is what I use. It is the perfect scoop for my cookies. And I scoop both of these cookies with this scoop. Both of them were scooped with this scoop. Let me tell you what the difference is. Now, this one doesn't have to have the presentation of the chocolate chips on the surface like this one does. And there was a time in my life where I would try to stage the cookie so that it had more chocolate chips on the surface, because when you eat a chocolate chip cookie, you want to see chocolate chips. Am I right? Well, I have a certain amount of weight that I use to put the chocolate chips in, and so I know there's plenty of chocolate chip cookies in here, so I don't even worry about it anymore. Whether or not it's on the surface, it's in the cookie. This one has a different purpose than this one. Can you guess what it is? So this cookie, it's just meant to be eaten. It's a good sized cookie. I eat one of them. I'm a big girl and I only eat one. This one, on the other hand, is meant to be paired. Yeah, so these are going to be cookie sandwiches. And the reason why they're thinner is because, to me, when you have a cookie sandwich, it is meant to be thinner and chewier. You don't have to open your mouth too big. I'm having tooth pain right now, Lord. Help me out with that. But back in the day, not too long ago, about 2 years ago, I had braces. I still wear a retainer. When I think about it, hope my orthodontist isn't watching. But when I put it on, my teeth hurt like crazy. And the last thing I want to do is open my mouth super wide and bite into a hard cookie and try to eat a cookie sandwich. So check this out. This cookie and this cookie. You see what I mean? These cookies here are too thick. They're just too thick. This is a little bit more perfect for a cookie sandwich. And they still both came from the blue scoop. Same amount of dough. It just bakes differently. And here is why. This cookie, I adjusted my normal recipe by decreasing the dry ingredients. And I did that on purpose because I wanted the cookie to be thinner and spread a little bit more. So when I make my cookie sandwich, it wouldn't be thick and chunky like this. Even though this is a soft and chewy cookie, look at that. it's not a snap crispy cookie. It's still soft and chewy, and there's still plenty of chocolate chips in it. But this one, which by the way just came out of the oven, is still soft and chewy, but it'll be easier to eat because it's thinner. It's thinner, and it's still soft, but it's softer than the other one, because it's thinner and it's easier to eat. And you got to think about it. There's going to be a layer of buttercream in there for the cookie sandwich. So that's going to add a little bit more dimension. Now just think, if I was eating this cookie with a big old pile of buttercream in between, it's already thick, and I got a big mouth. But I don't want to have to open it that wide to eat a sandwich that thick, and there's not even buttercream in there yet. This is the perfect one. About like eating a whoopie pie. So yeah, here's how I achieve that. So my regular recipe requires a certain amount of dry ingredients. And when I say dry ingredients, I'm not just talking about the flour. There's more than flour in your chocolate chip cookie recipe that is a dry ingredient. And I am not talking about sugar, because when I consider sugar in my chocolate chip cookie recipe, it is considered a liquid, because when it gets hot in the oven, it melts. So the other ingredients, the flour, the baking powder, the baking soda, cocoa powder, if you should be using that, it does not melt. But the sugar does. So I don't increase that or decrease that. I leave my liquid ingredients alone. I just increase or decrease the dry ingredients. Salt is included in that, because the salt for me, the amount of salt is based on how much of the flour I'm using. I, in my head, equate salt and flour together. If I don't have enough salt for the amount of flour in the recipe, it won't taste right. So if I'm going to decrease the amount of flour, I need to decrease the amount of salt, as well as the baking powder and the baking soda. Now, I would like to keep doing these videos, and I feel like I will if there is a purpose for it. If you have questions, drop them in the comments. It could be about cakes. It could be about puff pastry. I don't make that yet, but I was thinking about it. Don't do that first, because I'm not ready to do that yet. It could be about cream puffs. We do that. We do brownies. We do donuts and fritters and cupcakes and caramels. We do lots of things here, and they're all my recipes. There aren't but a few recipes, like macarons, are not my recipe. I took it from somebody else and I used their recipe, and I just adjust it based on what we use. And there's so many things that we do. I would love to help others to be able to do what it is that we do here and assess in their lives. Are you ready to run a bakery? Is that something you want to do? Do you want to move from being a home-based baker to opening a bakery? Are you ready? Is your product up to the standard that it should be to be able to do what it is that you need to do, or are your friends just blowing smoke? So these are things that we can talk about and we can discuss. Drop your comments, your questions in the comments, and I'll be happy to share what knowledge I have. And if I don't know, I can help you by finding it out from somebody that does. Y'all have a good night. Thanks for indulging me and watching my video. If you like the video, make sure you hit the subscribe button, because I am going to be putting out lots of things, because I'm going to have lots of time sitting in this shop to be able to do it. And I'll be able to share with you what it is that no one shared with me, and I had to figure it out on my own. Y'all have a good night. Thanks for watching.